here, and welcome to my podcast, Healing Your Anxious Attachment with Mariana Turov. It's nothing more literal than that, right? What do we do here? We heal your anxious attachment with who? With Mariana Turov, and here I am. So, welcome everyone for joining, and thank you so much for being here. On the first episode, this is our third episode, but on the first one, we were talking about what are the ways in which people sometimes attempt to heal their anxious attachment. There's some like little hairs over here, there, and how they don't work, and what is the best way to approach it. I have done a research on over 10,000 anxious attached people in 14 countries since the year 2016. So my research is about 10 years old, and I'm releasing my book about it, and it's going to be out soon. And I really want to give it out for everyone that watches me. And I want to tell you that anxious attachment exists, is real, and it's painful. So, I've seen a lot of anxious attached people wanting to heal their anxious attachment in many ways, okay? From the most holistic to the most high tech, and from just like smashing little leaves from the fields and eating it, thinking that that's gonna work, into going into ketamine treatments and electroshock treatments. And I disagree with all of that. I think that as a neuroscientist, I think that anxious attachment is really healed by rewiring your identity and rewiring who you are. Anxious attachment is not a problem of self-esteem, by no means. Anxious attachment is a problem of beliefs. And just when you're thinking about beliefs, it's also a problem of self-regulation. It's not a problem of self-esteem. It's a problem of self-regulation. And it's that poor capacity sometimes of anxious attached people to regulate their anxiety, these nasty, icky feelings within themselves that really prevent them from healing. So anxious attachment is not there to heal your symptoms or manage them. It's really to reboot your identity, focus on your beliefs. And once you do that, that's when your anxious attachment will disappear. Hello, Letitia. Hi, honey. So the best way to heal anxious attachment, after doing my research in over 10,000 people in 10 years, is that the best way to heal it, hi Jennifer, the best way to heal it is through your identity. And that was our first episode in this podcast. The second episode was about the 5 things you need to know before you even think about healing your anxious attachment, because not all the time it's going to work. There are things that need to be addressed before you want to jump into some anxious attachment healing. So for everyone that's on the chat, thank you so much for being here. Please send me your questions. I'm here to answer any questions that you have for me, and I'm happy to answer. We're a community. We're all together here, and I am here to share my knowledge with you. And yes, my book, it's going to be out soon, and that research took a lot of my time, and everyone was telling me, why are you doing this research? Why are you doing this research? It doesn't make you any money or whatever. But I knew that one day it would be very, very valuable. So let's go for today's topic. And it's a topic that a lot of people ask me about throughout my career. A lot of people ask and ask and ask, and they don't get tired of asking about one thing. Can you tell me what that is on the comments? Yes, you're right. Avoidance. Everyone asks me about avoidance and what they do and what's inside their head and how they function. So I am here to answer all your questions about avoidance. And I have the questions right here. Anyone in the chat want to ask, go ahead and ask. So the first question that I get asked is, do avoidants know what they're doing? And I'm going to tell you, yes, They know what they're doing, because the biggest excuse for avoidance in their behavior is, oh, they don't know what they're doing. It's because they don't know what they're doing. No, honey, we're talking about an adult, a person with pubic hair. Okay, we're not talking about a baby. We're not talking about a hamster. We're not talking about a puppy. We're talking about a human, an adult, a citizen, someone that files taxes, someone that has a driver's license and can kill people with his car. You understand? So we're talking about an adult. Why does it seem like they don't know what they're doing, right? A lot of people tell me, why is that a lot of people say that they don't know what they're doing? And why is that a lot of people kind of like allow them to be whoever they want to be, and just give them, like a lot of leeway to do what they want to do? And the answer is their deactivation strategies. Avoidants have something in their mind, let's say, in their brain, in their neurology and their physiology, that is called deactivation strategies. So, deactivation strategies is something that completely disconnects somebody's consciousness and takes you away from any feelings and any emotional responsibility. So, in the case of avoidance, what happens is that they may do something a little mean to you, and they may push you away, and they may make you feel bad. And then you don't really see them express any sort of contrition. Or you're in a relationship with an avoidant and you know the relationship is inconsistent. You know it hurts you. You verbalize that. You have said, this hurts me, this bothers me. And in the end, this person doesn't really react, doesn't really, it's kind of like immutable. So then you're like, does this person really know what they're doing to me? Do they know what they're doing to me emotionally? Trust me, they do. But their deactivation strategies grab that contrition, grab that guilt, grab that responsibility, and immediately kidnap it. And they're like, this deactivation strategies completely block these feelings and this process of responsibility. That's what the deactivation strategies do. I think what the hell? As a scientist, I think that deactivation strategies are really the mother of all the problems in an avoidant individual. This is what I think. That's my professional opinion. People may, disagree, but this is really what I think. This is the reason why it makes you think that they're just kind of like don't know what they're doing. But trust me, they know. And you know why else they know? They know because they've had partners in the past. They know they have hurt people in the past by doing the same thing they're doing to you, because their ex partner also complained about the same things you're complaining also. But because of these deactivation strategies, they don't connect, right? Because the right thing to think is, you know what, but if other partners complain, why didn't they make the necessary changes, right? And it makes sense, that's very logical. But is this deactivation strategies that kidnap, that just really obliterate any sort of feelings of responsibility, so that past relationship and those past complaints is completely fogged up. They don't really see it as something that they have done really, really wrong and they have to make amends in their next relationship. And that's why they do know what they're doing. They know. Yes. Okay. Number 2 is, do avoidance change? And that is do a click flip. I don't think I can. I'm sitting down. It's pretty comfy. But you know what I want to do? I want to have a sip of Gatorade. I could do a kickflip, but not for free. You all gotta pay. Okay. So the next question is, do avoidance change? I'm gonna tell you something from the bottom of my heart, okay? I am not an avoidant hater. I think throughout the years on YouTube and on social media, a lot of people think that I'm some sort of avoidant hater. On the contrary, my dear, it's not that I'm an avoidant hater. I am an avoidant spokesperson because a lot of anxious attached people come to me. No, I'm Jewish. Oh, Jesus was Jewish. So it's more of like people come to me as anxious attached and they explain to me what they're feeling and what they're doing and what their avoidant is doing. And my job is to tell anxious attached people how avoidants think, how avoidants feel, how you cannot change an avoidant. The same explanation that I'm giving you, I give people, and I tell them all the time, I'm American. I tell people all the time, right? All this like mechanisms for avoidance, and I explain it to them and I tell them. So I consider myself an avoidance spokesperson. I consider myself a person that would explain to you what avoidants are made of. So I'm not an avoidant hater, and I have a clear view of how avoidants work and what is their dark side, but I also have a clear view of what is the anxious attachment dark side. Because just because you're anxious attached and you're suffering with an avoidant doesn't mean you're an angel. Anxious attachment has a really dark side. Anxious attachment has a lot of toxicity, has a lot of hidden anger, and has a lot of hidden shame. And that needs to be addressed. So if you're anxious attached and you want to heal, those are the things that you want to look out for. And if a lot of these things that I'm saying are resonating with you, I want to invite you to join my community. You can sign up for my newsletter. And with that, I want to give you a gift. My gift to you is 15 minutes with me and 15 minutes in which we can speak and I can help you strategize the best way for you to reach that secure attachment that you want so badly. You can also access my masterclass, and I have a lot of wonderful things for you. You have my YouTube channel, my lives when you can come and ask questions, and I'm always here for you. If you look at my YouTube videos from like 5, 6 years ago, my phone number is always there. My email is always there. So, and just to tell you, this is a troll free environment. If you're here to troll, please, I invite you to go. Thank you so much. So, do avoidance change? I'm going to tell you how they change. But first, I want to address Francis Lynn. Understanding avoidance have given me peace. Some of the behavior I saw with my avoidant made me think I was crazy. Of course. Of course. A lot of their behavior can make a person feel crazy because avoidance offer something that's called multiple realities, right? Because they give you all this love in the beginning, they pursue you, they go after you, and you feel loved, you feel seen, you feel chosen. But the moment you start requesting more emotional intimacy, that's when they start shutting you down. They start closing the communication. They don't want to really engage with you. And they start, keeping you at arm's length. That's when you start thinking that you're crazy because you're like, well, I have this thing in the first 8 weeks and now this person is acting this way. So, and then you start asking for what it was in the beginning because that's how they sold themselves, right? But the crumbs become the invitation of this anxious avoidant trap. Just because you understand you're avoidant person doesn't mean that you need to stay in that relationship. Understanding and insight is not going to give you secure attachment. And you also have to see, is your avoidant making any effort to see your anxious attachment and help you with it and start to negotiate with you and partner up? That's the question, because if you are with an avoidant and you're the one doing all the studying, all the learning, all the changing, and accommodating and integrating, what is this person doing? They're just sitting down, laying back, having you love them? Is that fair? If that's the kind of relationship that you want, then yeah, of course, by all means, do it. But if that's not making you happy, that doesn't mean you don't need to stay. I'm sorry, that doesn't mean you need to stay. I had a client once tell me that he was with this avoidant lady, and he learned and he looked for insight, and he did all kinds of courses and things for him to calm himself down and to keep the relationship. So he was just really pushing to try to keep the relationship, trying to heal himself. And the avoidant lady was doing absolutely nothing, just keeping him around. So this is what I'm saying. Just because you're studying things and you want to tell yourself that everything is fine when it's not, that doesn't mean that you need to stay. Okay? You don't necessarily, it's not your obligation to integrate an avoidant. It's not your obligation to change your whole life and change your whole reality to integrate an avoidant. I created the disintegration theory, which explains that you don't have to integrate an avoidant if you don't want to. You don't have to learn from their independence. You don't have to learn from their self reliance. You don't need to do that. I mean, their independence and self reliance, it's all great. But that doesn't mean that you need to change your values as a partner just to keep the relationship. The mission of an avoidant in your life is not to learn from their independence. The mission of an avoidant in your life is for you to learn to let go. That's what an anxious attached is here to learn, to let go. So, with this, I want to say, let's move on to this topic that says, do they change? So, let me explain how avoidance change. Avoidance do not change. They can make adjustments, and their adjustments look like this. I don't know if you can see my playlists. I think it's called avoidance. You can see a video that's called does the avoidant change, and changes of an avoidant, I've classified them in this acronym called PIN. PIN. Stands for petite. Their adjustments are going to be petite. Okay, I stands for inconsistent. They don't last. And N is never for you. Avoidance don't change for you. Even if they tell you they change for you, they change because they're sick of hearing you. They're sick because anxious attached people tend to give these sermons, right? You give these sermons to your partners and you put them on this chair, and then you talk and talk and talk and talk, and you want to give them some sort of like life lesson or a maturity lesson. And you can do that, but that doesn't mean that it's going to have any sort of effect, right? So they're going to listen to you and they're going to be like, okay, yes, you're right. I messed up. I need help. And I'm not a good person for you. And I need to be better. And okay. But then what happens after you put all this work in sermoning them and showering them with quotes and how love should be easy and how they should love you and how it should be reciprocal? What happens? Deactivation strategies come and completely kidnap their consciousness. So those plans that they might have had momentarily to change the relationship with you become interrupted by these deactivation strategies, and they're like, oh, let me unplug my brain. Let me disconnect. Let me deactivate. And let me go back to what I usually do. That's why it's so exasperating to an anxious attached person to be with an avoidant, because they come to me and say, he or she told me that they were going to change, and they started doing the same thing 24 hours later. Not even 24, 8 hours later, they went back to what they're used to doing. So they're like, everything I talked about, everything I said completely meant nothing. And I said, it's not that it meant nothing. It's that you spoke, they received the message, they started to grind on some sort of lesson, and then the deactivation strategies came, kidnapped their consciousness, disconnected their brain, and went back to what they usually do. So that's how it works. That's the reason why avoidance don't change. It's not that you did anything wrong. You did nothing wrong. What you're doing is you're just reacting to this foreign way of loving and this foreign way of relating that you as an anxious attached person cannot deal with. And I know it's hard. It's very difficult. I understand you. I was in an anxious avoidant relationship for over a year when I was in my 20s. And mind you, this is a long time ago. I'm in my 40s now. But it's very hard. It's very difficult. And that's when I discovered that really my mission, the mission of this avoidant in my life, wasn't to teach me independence, wasn't to teach me to become avoidant. His mission in my life was to teach me to let go and to let go wisely and to stop fearing the loss. Stop being so afraid of not having that person around. Another question is, why is it so hard to leave them? And I'm here to tell you the answer because I have it. So if anybody wants to ask me a question on the chat, you can go ahead and do it while I have a little bit more Gatorade. I do boxing before the podcast. Okay, so let's answer this question. The question is, why is it so hard to let avoidance go? Why is it so hard to leave them? One, because they're not the ones that are going to leave you. And this is something that you have to have very present in your head. Out of the 10,000 anxious attached people that I've spoken to in the last 10 years, I can see that 70% of them have been in a relationship with an avoidant where the avoidant person doesn't break up with them and they ended breaking up with the avoidant. Okay, they're the ones that left. I would say the other 30% we can divide them in two, and that's the people that got ghosted by an avoidant that never came back. And the other percentage will be people that had the avoidant themselves confess that they couldn't sustain the relationship and that they wanted to go. Okay, so what do we do with this big bulk, this big 70% of anxious attached people that are in relationships with avoidance and they cannot leave them? Okay, they feel like they're almost hostage in their own relationship. They feel like they can't go, and they ask me, why is it so difficult? Why is it so hard? I can't. And I have tried to leave this avoidant person many times, and I've had many attempts, and I always end up coming back. So this is the reason. Because avoidance, first of all, they gave you a lot of love, a lot of feeling that you got chosen, and then they pushed you off the pedestal. First is that abrupt way in which they flip the scenario of the relationship, right? That abrupt way. Second is that they give you something that's called intermittent reward. Intermittent reward is when you're investing, you invest in the relationship, like the anxious attached cute self of yours, and this person doesn't really give you anything back, and you keep doing and you keep doing and you keep investing in the relationship and thinking maybe at one point this person will give me something back, and you keep investing in the relationship and boom, they give you something. They give you some crumbs. The crumbs of love that a lot of anxious attached people love so much. And I mean, there's a time when an anxious attached person becomes rehabilitated and these crumbs start tasting like shit. Okay. This intermittent reward is the same mechanism slot machines use in people that become addicted to these casinos. Have you seen them, like always with that bucket of coins, or just like going like that, leaving their jobs, not cleaning their house, abandoning their kids, right? And they're in these casinos and they have a big gambling problem because the reward is intermittent. every time they play and they pull the lever, they're hoping there will be some reward. And that's the same mechanism of inconsistency of a slot machine that an avoidant has to contribute to a relationship. So that's the reason why you're always expecting. Maybe today he'll choose me. Maybe today she'll be affectionate. Maybe today, if I do this, if I do that. So that mechanism of always expecting some sort of reward is highly addicted to the brain. The brain becomes addicted to this, and it's very difficult to get out, because once they give you that reward, your peak of dopamine spikes so high. Once it drops, what happens? You start searching for it again. So you invest again and invest. Hello, Chloe Anthony. How are you? I love you. You invest. And once you get your reward, you're like, oh, you're exhausted. You receive it. You're like, you're just so happy with your reward, and you're just eating it up because that cortisol feels so good. And then they take that reward away again, and you invest. And just like that, a lot of anxious attached people can spend years of their best years of their life under this pattern. So if you're in a relationship with an avoidant, just because you know they're avoidant and just because you know how they work, doesn't mean you need to stay. Okay? Because maybe the reason why you don't leave is because you're being subject of this intermittent reward, and that is making you sick. That is making you question your own identity. And this is why in my first episode, I spoke about changing your anxious attachment at the level of identity. If you do it at the level of process, right? This is the process. The process is beautiful, but for an anxious attached person, it's not going to help. If you do it as means of the objective, the anxious attached mind is not very fond of the objective, because every day that passes and you don't reach that goal, you feel shame. And you feel shame, and you feel shame. And it's so these two methods are not good for an anxious person, because they just make you feel either shame or discouragement. So the best way to do it is just to go inside and search through your identity and start rewiring it. And when you rewire this, your secure attachment starts to flourish. And obviously it's a process, especially knowing where you come from, right? Because there are three people that come to my practice, three kinds of people. One, the person that had a relationship with an avoidant or a narcissist or an emotionally unavailable person, and they're in really acute pain. And they come to me because they're like, you know what, Mariana, I feel like I want to die. And I just had a breakup, and they have all that, like recent open wound type of pain. And it's horrible, right? It distracts you. They can't function. It's really painful. Second category are people that have had a relationship and they broke up a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but they still have these compulsive thoughts of their avoidant partner, and they cannot get them out. Number 3 is people who are within a relationship with an avoidant now, and they're crying for help because they want to get out. And they tell me, I feel like a hostage in this relationship. I've tried to leave this person many times, but once I break up and I go home, I feel this anxiety that it feels like it wants to kill me. And I end up going back. And when I go back, the anxiety goes away. But I'm always suffering because I'm back to that, up and down, dopamine, cortisol type of pattern within that relationship. And I really want you to help me. So these are the 3 people that come to me. It hasn't changed in 10 years. Okay? Because those are the 3 main stages in which an anxious attached person looks for help. An anxious attached person doesn't look for help when they're happy, when they're fine, when they're happily single, or when they're being chosen by a secure person that's teaching them security. No. An anxious attached person comes and finds a shrink like me, and they do it when they're in pain. We all try to find help because of an ex. That's the truth for anxious people. You are looking for help because of an ex or because of a person that you're with that you want them to become an ex if they're not going to change. So it has different phases. So we're going to stop right here. And next week, we're going to touch on this again. And we're going to finish all these questions that you have for me in this topic of avoidance. I want to tell you all that I love you very much. In all my videos, you can find the description box in this one too, what I do and my research and my book coming up and those 15 minutes that you can have with me and talk. And I want to tell you that you're important, you're valuable, no matter where you are in life, no matter where you are in the world. I want to tell you that you are important and the world wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for you. So I love you very much, and I will see you next week. Bye.